On today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about the process triangle and how I use it to negotiate deals. Enjoy. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. My name's Max, I'm your host. Welcome to you if you're in YouTube land. Welcome to you if you're in podcast land. Encourage you if you are on podcast to get across to Business for Builders on YouTube because we've kind of got into the swing of things of doing it on the whiteboard, the old whiteboard session. Get across to Business for Builders VIP on Facebook. I'll get my shite together here. And Business for Builders VIP, good community of builders. Those that have got experience, happy for those guys to answer some questions. If you're new, get in there, ask some questions. Do not be shy. Otherwise, you will pay the ignorant tax. I keep an eye on the communications and the conversation that's going on in there. Answer the questions, and if you're a good sort, I'll let you in. Like and subscribe. One of these drops every week. If you want to chat with me about business coaching for builders, you can get across to elitebusinessadvisory.com, hit the book a consultation. We'll have a quick 30-minute chat with you about your business and just see if there's any potential there. It's a complimentary coaching session, so I'm just going to double down. Anyone that knows me that's been in that session will know I give them good steak and potatoes, directly relevant to their business. So do not hesitate, because if you do, it'll cost you money. It costs you money to wait if you hesitate. There you go. Right. I think that's about it. Anyway, yep. Hey, if you're on podcast and you're doing this on Spotify or iTunes, if you'd be so generous, leave us a nice, healthy, fat review or a 5-star, whatever you think is relevant. Helps us get the word out there and really start making a difference and changing, affecting or influencing or improving or decreasing the failure rate. That's what I'm trying to say, because 50% of builders go broke in the first 5 years. So let's get after that. Righto, real quick one today. A lot of what we do around how we operate within our business, I know for me, let me just speak from my standpoint, what makes it easier for me is when I've got a very practical, sort of graphic way to understand what it is that I'm trying to achieve. Now, by nature, I kind of like to think about what the end result is. And I was sitting in a meeting, a Zoom call yesterday or last night with the president of the AFL in British Columbia and the vice president, Kate, and we were chatting about the future of Australian rules football in this region. They call it the Okanagan Valley. And, there was a lot of talk about what was going on now, and we had the Kelowna Cup a couple of weeks ago. If you're into the AFL footy, get across to Facebook. Here's a plug that's got completely nothing to do with the show. Vernon Roosters on Instagram and Facebook. If you're an AFL lover and you want to keep an eye on what we're doing here in the world of Canada as it relates to footy, and you might not be into footy, and if you're not, disregard. I apologise for the interruption. But, we were sitting in that meeting and we're talking about, they were talking about what's happening, good Kelowna Cup, we've got this happening, blah, blah, blah. And I said, time out, hang on. What is the objective over the next 3 or 4 or 5 years? Because what I want to understand is what's the end result. So it's like, what is the pinpoint objective of our activity today, 3 years in advance? What am I doing today? You've heard me talk about it all the time. It's that 12-month goal. What am I doing in the preceding months, quarters, days, weeks? What's my activity doing today that's going to influence a result down the track? And so with that in mind, with that natural kind of go-to, if you like, how I like to assess when I first meet a client and we start chatting about all kinds of stuff. And I've got elite business advisory clients that have made it clear they would love to come along and they'd love to come and visit me and do a ride along and see how I go about doing sales. Because it's kind of something that I've been doing for so long, it is very second nature, and it's hard for me to go, okay, let me teach this. It's kind of something that I've just developed over time. And so teaching it is a little bit of a different art form. And so when I meet with a client, a lot of the time, I let them know that, I'm not conversating because I just want to ignore the homeowner. I say, I'm just, you've lived here for 20 years, you know exactly what your pain points are, you know exactly, what it is that you want to change. I'm just sort of trying to take it all in, so it just takes me a few minutes. I've been here for 10 minutes trying to understand exactly what's going on. And essentially what I'm getting at is that the amount, and so you'll notice behind me, I'll get out the way in a minute, the amount of unknown information is massive, it's wide. But over time, I will get to know the clients or the situation to a point where I'll do a deal, or there's no deal, or I'll reach the objective, or whatever the case is. So what I'd like to introduce you to is my process triangle. So it just takes everything I just outlined in the ether and the kind of the air, and I'm saying, right, what we've got, this is super basic. I haven't got this out of a book, this is all me, okay? But it's the way that I structure my thought process so that I efficiently get the job done. You could essentially say this is another, so I should have a, in brackets, system. This is a system, okay? So when I'm sitting down with clients or I'm standing there talking to clients about their project, I'm saying to them, look, this is where we're at. We are a long ways apart, right? Here, right? Because my understanding, the amount of unknown is substantial, but over time, as we go through the process, I will start to get more of an understanding of the objective or an understanding of what it is that's important to you, the homeowner. So in this situation, so you can use this triangle for whatever it is. When you're applying yourself to an objective, you go, right, we're over here, amount of unknown is huge. Over here, this is the objective. This is the goal. This is what I want to achieve. Okay, now you can break it down into as many slots here as you like. And so for here, I've made it really basic. We're talking about a negotiation. We're talking about doing a deal. So when I get to a client's home, I'm trying to figure out what the client needs. Like, what am I going to provide in the way of a solution? Okay. Now, perfect example, in between shoots here, I was just flicking through our local Vernon community Facebook page or whatever it was, and a lady's just literally reached out 2 minutes ago and said, I'm getting plans drawn right now. We're doing a major renovation on a home. Can I have some recommendations? Now, the hardest thing for me as a builder is to go there and start chirping off about how good I am, mate, right? It's such baloney. So a couple of episodes I might have made reference to the video testimonials. Perfect example. You know what? I should read you this because I think this will be interesting. I'll read you the text message or the messenger message, right, that I just sent her. Now, her name's Jennifer. And I said, hi, Jennifer. My name is Max Peterson. Myself and my business partner, Jed. There's some credibility because there's two of us. Own and operate Smith & Sons General Contractors in Vernon. 60 plus years of combined experience in residential construction. Our website is smithandsons.ca/customer reviews. There are a few video testimonials from past clients there to check out. Rather than me speak to the type of experience you'd enjoy, feel free to visit our website to have a listen to their stories. If you've any queries, questions, or concerns, you can reach me directly on my cell number. I look forward to chatting with you. Thanks for your consideration, Jennifer. Best regards, Max Peterson, Smith & Sons General Contractors, Vernon, BC. Now, that's it. I haven't got a response from her yet, when that was 3 minutes ago, so fair enough. But what I've done is I've treaded a fine line because I know that the amount of unknown is significant. Okay, so I know straight away when Jennifer hits me back, I'm expecting her to hit me back after she's checked out all 23 videos on our website. When she comes back to me, I expect her to say something like, hey, those stories are really impressive. I'd love to maybe sit down with you and just chat about, my project, right? So she says a major renovation. What does that mean, right? So that's where I've got to use my process triangle to get to a point. And now look, this whole triangle might be just made up of client needs, guys and girls. That's what I'm saying. This is why this is a template, right? But this helps you understand. It's like, all right, how do I go and handle myself? Like, this could be a situation that you use for a subcontractor. You could use this for dispute resolution. You could say the objective is to come to an agreement with my subcontractor over this dispute. Right, so what is the amount of unknown? Right, this is what I know, this is what I don't know. And you could slowly move through different stages until such point as you get to that. You could explain that to the subcontractor. So this process triangle is just a methodology. It's something that you can modify, right? Haven't trademarked it, it's all yours. right? But what it's going to do is it's going to help you organize your thought process. You go, all right, what am I trying to do here? First things first, what you've got to do is seek to understand before you are understood. So what it pays me to do is to understand in granular detail what the client wants. Then, if we're talking about negotiating a project, I've got to make sure that I can build it. We talked about that, I don't know, a dozen episodes ago, whatever it is. And it's like, well, if you've only done bathrooms, and someone approaches you about a second story addition like I've got coming up, you might be like, well, hang on a minute. I understand your needs. I'm not sure that I've got the ability to do that. I'm not sure that I've got the confidence to do this. So it negates the next phase of play, which is to talk about my historical data and my experience says that your second story addition is going to cost between $875 and $1.1 million. Because you haven't got those skills. Your ability is a little bit, your ability to win that deal is governed by your ability to build. Okay? So in this case, what we're doing is over time, it is all a negotiation. It's relationship building, it's rapport building, right? But we've got to understand what's the objective. Is it for a deal or no deal? This could be to qualify or not qualify, not even a deal. It's like, do I even want to work with this client? Okay, and you might have your tripwires set up through here that go, if I get 3 or more red flags, no deal. Or if I get 3 or more red flags, no quote. Or I don't like their tone on text message, they're out. Like, this is why for you've got to modify this framework so that you can use it as a tool. Now, what it does 2 things. It de-stresses because you just go, well, mate, let me map this out. How do I want to do this? Right, over time, here's the amount of unknown. Here are the stages. Here's the objective. It's not rocket science, guys and girls, right? So what we're trying to do ultimately is to get clarity in our mind. Clarity in two layers. First thing is, if I'm going for clarity, it's, in other words, I have clarity in my own mind as to the direction that I'm going, because the speed of the leader determines the speed of the pack. Okay, if you're the leader, lead. Leaders lead. That's how we do it. So if you've got an understanding around how you're going to lead the client, like for Jennifer, I have got absolutely zero grey area or doubt what I'm going to do with her first. Okay, so if I was to set up, it would be kind of here. I would be chatting about her needs. I would let her know that I have the capabilities to do it, because my video testimonials will speak to that. And I will make sure that before we start trying to do anything in the way of a deal or no deal, that she understands that if she is going to do a renovation like that based on my historical data and my experience, that's probably going to be a $250,000 job. So for me, I would probably lean on some level of reliability on a square meter or a square foot rate and say, if she's got a 2,000 square foot or a 200 square meter home, that's probably going to be around about the $350 a square foot or the $3,500 a square meter. Now that's going to be the high and low. There could be all kinds of complexities and variables in her home that will determine either there's a price hike or there's a price reduction. And certainly is she going to be an essential finish, a standard or a signature finish, or a luxury or a premium finish? Okay, again, important to identify the needs so that when you do get to the financial in this case, you can speak to it and go, actually, I know that she's got a champagne taste, but she has a beer budget. So then it's up to me to be able to go, hey, and I think I spoke about this one about a deck that they wanted me to build for under 50 grand, and it was easy. I thought, well, I can convert that 49 to 65 price range to a 49,500 by modifying or deleting one line item that was worth like 12 grand. I'm like, mate, I could do it for that under 50, Mazel Tov, but you don't get the aluminium or aluminum soffit. They just don't. So this is why it's important to know the needs, because it syncs up with the financials. So look, over time, that will become a natural play for you, because in my mind, I just know that I'm this far apart with clients because there's so much unknown quantity. But over time, right, as I ask the right questions, because questions are the answers, guys and gals, over time, I can start to narrow in on my objective. Remember, this is not suited to any one thing. This can be applied. I mean, I don't want to get into dating, but I mean, there's that you could use that sort of approach to, what's the objective? Oh, it's to ask this gal out on a date or guy out on a date, whatever the case is. So it's having those tools in your toolkit that says, I know how to handle this. Now, I use this all the time because I say to myself, we're miles apart, but over time, we're going to be able to sort of narrow things down. The more detail you can provide me, if you can give me a bit of time, I can probably come up with some sort of estimated price range that'll give you a ballpark. Now, at that point, if they go, mate, you sit like at between 225 and 295, yeah, I thought we were going to get out of this for 150 grand. Right, at this point, what the objective is, I flushed the financials out of them. Now I've got them talking. See, that could be the objective for you in that case. Like you could have a whole system or process made up of many of these process triangles. It's like, right, first stage of play, I've got to get them flushed out as far as what they're going to spend. I've got to figure out, now, just on that, Alex Hormozy talks about, taking their breath away. Like, I can't remember how he words it, but it's like, if the price that you throw out there doesn't kind of make them uncomfortable, you've missed the mark, because you want to be able to sort of work your way back down to where they're at. If you start low and they're not surprised by that, you start asking yourself the question, how much do I leave on the table? Right? So I'm always going to do a bit of a budget in my system. Let's say if we're talking about financials, I will then, I will kind of add some contingency, and then I will use that level as the baseline. I'll then probably add 30 or 40%. That'll be my high. So I've got this high and low that I go in with, right? But this process triangle is something that you can do that's going to give you clarity. Whenever you go into a certain situation, think process triangle. Go, how much unknown quantity is there? Lots. Over time, if I ask the right questions, I should be able to narrow in on it. But my objective is this. So if I understand the objective and I know how much time I've got, and I understand and I'm satisfied with the amount of unknown that I'll get to the bottom of over time, there's not much you can't work out. If you don't have enough time, it's going to make it difficult. There's a lot of high pressure to reach that point quickly. Some clients will do that to you. They go, I need a quote over the weekend. And you're like, okay, amount of information is this much, right? I've got to get to a quote and I've got this much time. It's a no-go. It's a no deal. Like, we're not doing it. So it's a good qualifying mechanism or tool that you can just use mentally to give yourself some poise. Because when you get into that, that intense situation, I got a message back from a client that says, I need that deck under 50 grand. Ah, woosa. Freaking homeowners, mate. What am I, on your payroll, pal? Like, what's with the attitude, So me and Jed have had some good conversations, and there was talk about swords and cutting throats and all kinds of, we're talking about the deal, metaphorically, okay? We're not homicidal, we're not that crazy. Sometimes maybe, but not all the time. But we're just talking about how to be able to categorize certain players and situations and outcomes, and how does that all formulate together? Right, this is something you can use. If you've got any questions on that, I don't think there's anything else I want to cover off on that. I think just executing it, keeping your life simple, that's certainly, the easiest way for you to be able to sort of execute is if it's simple, it's not hard to remember. It's like, how much do I got to understand? How long have I got? And maybe what are some of the micro stages in between? And I think you can use that tool to really help you, I think get through certain situations. Like when clients come to me, it's like, I got to sort out, are they a player or pretender? That's it. That could be an objective. It's like player or pretender. Right. What's the amount of unknown? That will then help me ask the right questions that will get me closer to the objective to figure it out, which is kind of what this is right here. So if you got any questions, email me, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. Drop comments in below. I think you can actually comment even on Spotify. I don't know about iTunes. Get across to Business for Builders VIP. Answer the questions if you're a good sort. I'll let you into that community of builders. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you've got the experience and you can answer some of those, please, guys, we need more collaboration within the industry. If you want to chat with me about business coaching, elitebusinessadvisory.com. Hit the blue button. 30-minute complimentary coaching session. We'll get down and dirty about your business and figure out where to from here. And be careful, because you're going to pay the ignorant tax either way. Just make sure you don't burn 5 or 10 years of your life figuring it out, right? Get to the good oil as quickly as possible. Hope that helps. Let me know if you've got any questions. Go build a kick-ass business. See you in the next episode. Cheers.